Welcome back to the Lowell Area Historical Museum Museum Immersion Program Online. This activity that we're going to do is called Artifact Inquiry. And in this activity, we're going to talk about labels at museums and how museums write them and what we can learn from them. Typically, when you come to the Museum Immersion Program for Artifact Inquiry, we give you an opportunity to look around the museum and find an artifact that you're interested in, and then we give you information on that to write your artifact label. Since we're holding this program online, we're going to give you the opportunity in a moment to pause the video and go to our website, which I'm going to put up right here. And if you go to this website, we have the museum's collection online. So you can look around and search for something that you might be interested in. So you might type in things to look for like floods or baseball or the Grahams or any number of different things about Lowell history or topics you can look up and see if we have an artifact here in the museum's collection related to what you're interested in. Once you've found something, we will begin. Alternatively, you can use something from your own home. So if you would prefer to write something about something that's important to you, maybe something that you collect or something that's important to your family, you may use that as your artifact as well. Okay, so now that everyone has an artifact, we're going to talk a little bit about how museums write labels. And the first thing that I would like to show you is that museums have several types of labels. We have exhibit title labels, like this one, Building History, Robert and Ernest Graham. Title labels tend to be the ones that when you first walk into an exhibit are big and up on the wall right when you walk in. They give you an idea of what exactly the artifacts are and what the story being told in that room is. Another type of artifact label that you'll see in many museums are called text panels. And they are the longer exhibit labels that give you the bulk of the story. They tell you a lot about what is important on the subject that's being covered. Another type of label that museums have are called artifact labels, shown here. Excuse my camera work. And they tend to be shorter. They tend to be 3 or 4 sentences at most, and they tell you about a specific artifact. And that's the type of label that we're going to have you work on today. So what we're going to have you do is do a practice label with me, and then we're going to have you write your own label. So the first thing that you're going to do with your artifact label is we like to have a description sentence. So something that tells us a little bit about the artifact. We're going to use this painting on our wall to tell us a little bit about this artifact and write a practice label together. So the first thing that I would do is use a sentence like this, where I would say, this painting created by Keith Graham is a painting of a farm scene. And then I'm going to add a little bit of description. I'm going to add 2 or 3 sentences that really give you information that gives you some insight into why this is important and why it fits into the museum. So one way we could write this label would be to say, something like, this painting shows cows. This painting shows a barn. This painting shows a house. Now, those are all very true statements and give us an idea about this picture. However, it doesn't really give us a lot of interesting information. So what if I wrote the label like this? What if I said, this painting is by Keith Graham, a local Lowell resident who is a descendant of the Graham family that originated here with Robert Graham, builder of the museum. Keith Graham was a local artist, and he often painted scenes from his hometown and area. This painting depicts his own family farm located along Alden Nash and 52nd Streets just south of Lowell. The farm had first belonged to his grandparents, William and Sarah Proctor Graham, and then to his parents, Clyde and Katie Graham. He named the farm Indian Prairie Farm because many Native American artifacts were found there in the early days. Now, my second label is quite a bit more informative, and because of that, it has a lot more interest. So what I want you to do in this activity is to take your artifact, whether it was a museum artifact or whether it's an artifact from your home. You're gonna write on a paper, your very first sentence will be to tell us exactly what your artifact is. So it may be something like, this chair can be found in the museum, or this is a special rock in my own personal collection. Then you're gonna give us 3 or 4 sentences that really tell us what's interesting about it. If you had to just tell me what's really interesting about something special you're writing about, what would it be? Would it be, for example, let's use a rock for example. This rock was something that was in my own personal collection. I found it while I was on vacation up north last summer with my family. It's got a lot of different colors on it, and I found it at the bottom of a stream while we were hiking. Now that gives us a lot of information about the rock. It tells us how it was found, why it's important to you, and gives us a lot of detail. So when you're writing an exhibit label, what you want to do is keep it short. People like short labels that give a lot of good information. So I want you to think about 2 or 3 things that you could tell us about your item, whether it's from home or from the museum's website, and share with us what makes that interesting to you. What are the things that are really important to share? Now, if you have more than 2 or 3 things that you'd like to share, that's okay. You can write more, but I'd like you to write at least 3 sentences to share with us something about your artifact. And then when you're done, you can share that with your teacher. We'd love to have you share them here at the museum. Feel free to email them to us. You can find our website and our email address on the website and share those with us. You can also share them to our Facebook or Instagram pages. Feel free. We would love to see what kind of artifact labels you are writing at your Museum Immersion online program. Thank you for joining us for the Artifact Inquiry program. We'd like to thank your teachers and your principals and your parents for helping you to do this program online. I want to also thank our sponsors, the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs and the Literacy Legacy Fund of Michigan, for supporting this program. And I want to remind you that when the museum is able to reopen, we are inviting you all to bring your families and tour the museum free of charge, to be able to see the different artifacts and exhibits here in the museum for yourself when we are able to reopen. Thank you, and we'll see you for our next segment.